Alright, what's cracking with y'all? It's your boy Prince the Hustle Guy, aka Wise the Warlock, and we reaching in our combat tool bag one more again. It is a Code Black affair. Shout out to the mighty LDBC. LDBC only, LDBC or nothing, LDBC everywhere. Alright, so this is about the conflict of October 15th and the array of fights that are scheduled to take place all on the same date. I call it the conflict of October 15th because the powers that be in boxing, that's the networks, that's the promoters, who are groupingly referred to as handlers. The management kind of gets pushed to the wayside, as well as the coaching, because of the powers, hence the phrase powers that be in boxing, are predominantly the networks and the promoters. So the networks and the promoters, as I'm referring to, that's ESPN, that's PBC, and DAZN as well. They have their hands in this as well as Fish Eyes. Excuse me, his name is escaping me right now, but Frank Warren. So the Deontay Wilder versus Robert Helenius card, which is a massive card, is the return of Deontay Wilder, was scheduled for October 15th. And that was essentially by itself until Lomachenko and Tank Davis refused to fight or sign on to fight Devin Haney. So the Devin Haney versus George Kambosos rematch got scheduled somehow on October 15th as well, which actually I said that in reverse, excuse me. PBC decided to place the Deontay Wilder date on the scheduled rematch, which was announced first, Devin Haney versus George Kambosos. So for the fans, and let me not get ahead of myself, the powers that be in boxing understand that there is one pool of fans, and regardless of your race, if you're a boxing fan, someone who spends money on boxing for entertainment, there's one pool, and that one pool will be pulled in multiple directions, because none of these cards are, well, not none, but the majority of these cards are not fused together. So as a fan, typically you'd have to take a pick between PBC and Fox or Showtime, but I believe it's PBC and Fox, or ESPN and Top Rank, or DAZN. Now, DAZN did a partnership with, DAZN or Frank Warren did a partnership with Top Rank for the women's card. We have Clarissa Shields versus Savannah Marshall, which is a tremendous fight, probably the biggest fight in women's boxing. That said, it also houses the fight, which is another amazing, like, magnificent, enormous fight in women's boxing, which is Alicia Baumgartner versus Michaela Mayer. Alicia Baumgartner versus Michaela Mayer, Clarissa Shields versus Savannah Marshall, Deontay Wilder versus Robert Helenius, and Devin Haney versus George Kambosos 2 are all scheduled for October 15th. So to get back to my point of the pool, the fan pool, naturally a fan would feel like they have to decide between one of the 3 cards, not 4 fights, but the 3 cards. Thankfully, both of the enormous women's fights are on the same card, which men's boxing and greedy business could take note of. If you slap 2 great men's fights on a card, which PBC has done before, they've done more than just the 2. They have had Adrian Broner and Jermell Charlo, as well as Erislandy Lara, all on one card before, and did the same thing, I think, with Erislandy Lara and Hurd before they fought. So they're not unfamiliar to the concept. But when you look at what, excuse me for not being spot on, but if you look at what I believe DAZN and Top Rank have done with the women's card, it's ridiculous. It's unheard of. Following my statement right now, because of the capacity of the fight, the size of the fight, the business or the powers that be in boxing or men's boxing, they are too greedy to try to replicate or not try, but to simply replicate, because you have 2 championship fights in women's boxing, Clarissa Shields versus Savannah Marshall, and Alicia Baumgartner versus Michaela Mayer, and they will be, quote unquote, the guy, excuse my terminology for better reference, they would be the champs in their division. And in men's boxing, we typically put one great fight and a bunch of filler fights. But when we look at what's happening in women's boxing, regardless of how the greater consensus of boxing may feel each fight would do on its own, together, it's the biggest thing probably to happen in boxing this year. That said, we have that taking place on October 15th as well, because the Queen of England passed away, and their custom is for them to mourn for 10 days, and for some reason the fight has been postponed for over 4 weeks. And for it to be postponed for over 4 weeks is ridiculous. For it to somehow miraculously fall on the exact same day as Deontay Wilder and Devin Haney is ridiculous. And then even for PBC to put Deontay Wilder and Robert Helenius on the same day as Devin Haney is ridiculous, because regardless of if they were in the works for negotiating for an October date, seeing as the undisputed champion at 135, who's also an African American at that, is going overseas to again defend his title, with all the odds stacked against him, with the exception of those who may feel he will win, is ridiculous. So that would be the word of the day for this video. But we have the bright side. I don't want this to be a complete pessimistic or cynical video. The bright side of it all is the event should be staggered, seeing as one event takes place in the United Kingdom, one event takes place in Australia, and one event takes place in the Mecca of fighting, the United States. The latter being Deontay Wilder, the middle being Devin Haney, and the initial being the women's fights. That said, do not worry because it will be staggered. Do your best. Do your best to support all three. Do your best to tune in to all three cards. It'll be impossible to watch all three entire cards, but at least to catch the main events. They will be historic events. You have a heavyweight fight. You have a lightweight fight. You have a women's lightweight fight, and you have a women's middleweight fight. All for titles or for slots at title contention, or slots at mandatory title opportunities. That said, it's still BS that everything managed to fall on the same day. It's still total BS that the same pool that supports all of boxing will have to be forced into consumerism or forced to pay for their entertainment 3 times on that same evening. Take notes, powers that be in boxing. If you were to stagger this a week apart, there would be no complaints. If you would have staggered this to be a day apart, there would be no complaints. But the fact that people actually have to try, well, it's physically impossible for people to act as patrons in person for all three, and be fortunate that technology has allowed us all to find a way to support our favorite fighters, even though the cards will conflict. All that said, I didn't even mention that there's another massive fight, Caleb Plant and Anthony Durrell, and other good fights on that card as well. So yeah, it's a Code Black affair. Please check out and support everything LDBC, everything Usual Suspects. Please shop usualsuspect6.com. Pick up your combat tool bag gear. If you ain't getting none yet, you lacking. Please support TWT, Simple Truth, The Trilitary, 9-4 Sun God, 9-4 Films, HFO Church, Acting Right TV, and of course, like, subscribe, share, comment here at Combat Tool Bag. Till next time, deuces.